So I created the Talking Out Festival. Technically, it started in 2019, but we started doing the virtual performances back in November, and I'm pleased to say we're very successful. The playwrights seem very pleased about it, and we've raised quite a bit of money for the artists and the playwrights. And I started it because, to put it simply, I think there's more increased awareness on mental health issues than there was before, but I haven't seen that many companies or festivals dedicated to this issue. And so, I wanted to do something that was free and open to the public, but also they have the option of donating to the artist so they can get like a meal or a cup of coffee or something. And also to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, like it goes half and half, like half to the artist, half to NAMI. Hello, I am Anthony Piccioni. I am the founder and artistic director of the Talking Out Virtual Play Festival in support of mental health awareness. If you'd like to learn more about our upcoming performance, please watch this video. I think, in terms of charity organizations, there's a lot of organizations out there, not just for mental health awareness, but just all sorts of causes that claim to do a lot of work for the cause they care about, but really, a lot of it goes toward paying their staff and all these other crazy things that they don't really tell you about. If you look at what NAMI does, they really do a lot of good work, in terms of real life in-person work to actually help people who might be struggling, to give advice to people on what to do in a certain situation if someone's struggling, whether it's yourself or whether it's someone who's close to you, who you care about. And, you can go to their website to learn more about the work that they do. But I picked that organization because I wanted to make sure that even if we raise just a tiny amount for them, that it's going toward not just a vague cause, but also potentially actual work that will help people in real life. The theme is mental health awareness. And that includes anxiety disorders. It includes depression. We had a few plays the past few seasons about dementia and Alzheimer's. We have one play that deals with OCD specifically. We had a play this past performance that sort of alluded to drug addiction and alcoholism, but in a kind of experimental sort of way. It's the broader theme is mental health awareness, but it's not just one condition. It's not just anxiety, it's not just depression. We try and pick an eclectic list of plays, not just in terms of conditions, but also in terms of genre, because we have comedy, we have drama, we had a sci-fi play last performance, so we have dramedy, so both comedy and drama. I hope what they get out of this festival, we need to show more compassion toward people who might be dealing or might not be dealing with conditions, because you never know, everyone has a story. And if people who are familiar with my work might know, I'm pretty open about the struggles I've dealt with, but not everyone is. If they tell anyone, it might only be family members or close friends or something. There could be, I bet you anything, if I'm in New York City right now, right? I bet you anything that if you walk down the streets or ride the subway or whatever, at least a third of the people there probably are dealing with some sort of mental health struggle that isn't obvious. And so I think we need to show more compassion toward people, because you never really know. Sometimes it's obvious, but a lot of times it isn't. And I hope when people come see these plays, maybe they'll have a better understanding of if they see someone and they think, why are they like that? Why are they behaving a certain way? Maybe they'll have a better understanding why and how it's not entirely their fault, and they might be dealing with something not so pleasant in their life that they might have no idea about. They need to support not just my festival, but other festivals that support important causes out there. They should support them, because one of my biggest frustrations in terms of the perception of theater that's out there from people who aren't necessarily theater people is that it's just musical theater, it's just Shakespeare. I'm not knocking companies that do that. That's their right to do that, that only do that. But I think there's a responsibility from those of us who create theater, I really do think, to promote real world issues that maybe either aren't being talked about, or if they are being talked about, we aren't talking about the solutions. We aren't talking about what we can do in our own lives to improve it. We aren't talking about who or where to go to get help on these issues. And like, I'm not naive enough to think that like everything I do, like, it's gonna change the world. But I'd like to think maybe the people who come see my work, who come see my productions, who come see the plays that have been written by these playwrights, for example, maybe it'll inspire them to change at least part of the world. Mental health awareness, like, has been an important cause to me for years, and I know there are a lot of people out there who feel the same way. And keep in mind that, like, if you make a donation by purchasing a ticket, like, then you'll not just be supporting me, you'll be supporting the people who are involved. By the way, many of them have been open about their own mental health struggles, I should know. And you'll be supporting NAMI. And you'll be supporting, I'd like to think, a theater festival that has been doing good work to promote this to not just theater in New York or LA or London, but all over the world. Like, we've had artists and audience members who've come from all over the world for the past few performances, and that's true for this performance too. If you support that, then yeah, you should absolutely, that should be your main reason for coming to see the festival, and to support our artists too. So we do run the performance, a recording of the performance, I should say, for 2 weeks afterwards. We can't do it beyond that just because, like, some playwrights are iffy in terms of, like, I shouldn't say they're iffy. They're worried that, like, what opportunities that might get closed off if their play is somewhere on YouTube. And part of me gets that. I'm a playwright myself, so I kind of get that. But, like, for anyone who can't be there the day of the performance, yeah, it'll absolutely be available on YouTube for 2 weeks total. Usually I upload it the Monday after our Saturday performance, and then I keep it up for 14 days after that, and that's on my YouTube channel, and I post it across our Facebook and Instagram pages too for the festival. So if you can't make it, no worries. It'll be available for 2 extra weeks after that. And I think it's going to be really cool. Well, if you want to learn more about this festival and the work that we do, you can go to www.facebook.com/talkingoutfest, and you can follow us on Instagram @talkingoutfest, and I hope to see you there.
I think people should watch this festival because I think, one, it's really important to support mental health awareness. And I don't really like saying, like, awareness for things. I guess more like, by watching this, I think it would help destigmatize certain conversations around mental health. I hope maybe it would start conversations about mental health. I think new theater in any form is so exciting, and I think we should support small theater and new plays. I'm Sydney Kurland. I'm a playwright in the Talking It Out Festival. My play is called Something Stupid. If you want to learn more about my play in the festival, keep listening to the conversation. I don't remember how I heard about the Talking It Out Festival. I'm constantly on the lookout for small theaters, play submissions. At NYU, they recommend stuff to us all the time, so I don't remember how I heard about it. But I'm very interested in writing about mental health. I felt like the play that I had submitted was a really good fit, and I was just really excited about anyone who was interested in talking about mental health through theater, because I like that you can address issues through theater without it feeling prescriptive head-on. It can really feel more natural, especially because we're telling a story of characters. Like, these issues can just be aspects of their life or their identity, without it feeling like a aggressive call to action or a lecture or something like that. I got the idea for the story that I wrote from personal experience, because I feel like I've had the thoughts that I gave this character, and they're kind of weird to express. Like, this character is talking about the desire to just not be, and that can be very frightening for people around us because we don't want people to harm themselves. We don't want people to kill themselves. So I just wanted to talk about this idea or this feeling. I just needed a space to talk about it. So it's a 10-minute play about a woman named Jane, and she is in a doctor's waiting room with her friend who's like accompanying her for this appointment, waiting to find out some test results because she may or may not have a tumor. And she confides to her friend that sometimes she wishes that she could have the tumor because then she could have cancer and die without having to commit suicide and have that stigma or worry about it going wrong. And understandably, the friend is very concerned and she keeps protesting to the friend, like, I'm going to take care of myself. Don't worry. I'm not going to do anything stupid. These are just some thoughts, just some ideas. And I left the ending pretty ambiguous. It ends with the friend kind of in an awkward place saying, like, I just don't trust you now that you've disclosed this information. And then there's a knock at the door that's presumably the doctor coming in before they can really resolve this issue between them. I want the audience just to understand that mental illness, depression looks different for different people. I feel like there's stereotypes about how people with depression are supposed to look, like maybe they're very, skinny and they don't have any sleep. And I don't know, I want to combat stereotypes about what mental health looks like or mental illness looks like and how it looks different for different people. I'm looking forward to the festival because I don't know anything about the other plays. So I really want to see what other people's takes on mental health awareness in theater would look like. I'm Sydney Kurland. I'm the playwright of Something Stupid, which is a play featured in the Talking It Out Festival. I hope to see you at the show later this November.
I think it sheds light on the issue of mental health. And this is something that has been more in the past than right now, maybe, but has been kind of a taboo subject and things that, people didn't want to talk about, didn't want their colleagues to know about because it might affect their job prospects, and didn't want their family to know about because, it might make them uncomfortable. That's one of the reasons why it's good to explore this topic. So I'm Tyler Powell. I'm the author of the play Warriors in the Talking It Out Festival. And if you want to learn more about the play and the festival, listen to this conversation. They were calling for plays that involved mental health, and I've had some experience personally with mental health, and I also have, I was working on this play and some other plays that are the same, of the same ilk. So I thought it would be appropriate for talking it out. The idea of the play came from this incident in the Veterans Hospital where I was in the waiting room and saw this veteran who was having a kind of a fit over being shown women's glasses, crying out, I'm a man, not a woman, and so on. And was very serious. I'm maybe not portraying that correctly, but it was very serious. And so I thought, that this is probably a subject that I could relate to, and then I could maybe shed some light on and let people know about a therapy, and maybe just convey that feeling that I had. And I've actually done probably like maybe 3 or 4 plays on this topic. And one is a monologue, and one is one act, and one is this 10-minute play, Warriors. It's a circular play. It begins at the end, where the veteran is trying the therapy. And this is a therapy where you, if you have like this really traumatic event that you're like scared of, and but it keeps, you keep having the nightmares, you keep waking up at night, you keep having disturbed sleep and so forth. And one way to confront that and to sort of lessen the effect of that traumatic event, and in this case, the veteran was in Iraq, and they hit an IED, which was they hide them in the trees so that when you hit them, they blow up in your face. So he had the guy next to him, who was his buddy, had his face blown off in this incident. And of course, my character, Thomas, was very traumatized by that. So it's really his story. And it starts out where he's found out about the therapy, and he's trying the therapy really for the first time. And the therapy is called prolonged exposure. And you go back and you relive this event, and you record, what you're seeing and how you feel on your phone or some other device. And then you play it back and listen to it, and then you record again and so forth. And you do this repeatedly, and it helps you really, face the thing and become familiar with it in a way so that it isn't as terrifying as it once was. So that's what he's doing in the beginning of the play, first part of the play. And then the second part of the play is how he got there. And this scene is, it starts just after he had his big blow up in the waiting room outside the optical shop over being shown women's glasses. And he was grabbed by the security guard, and they took him to the emergency room. Not all of this is in the play, but they took him to the emergency room, and then they referred him to Dr. Goslin, who's a psychiatrist, for counseling. And he's very resistant to the counseling. And he does receive counseling. And one of the things she tells him is, sometimes, asking for help takes just as much courage as going into combat. And so then after they have their session, and the last part of the play picks up where the first part left off, and he's finishing doing the therapy with his phone, and he calls the Veterans Hospital and asks for another appointment. He apologizes. He walked out. He asks for another appointment with the doctor because he wants to continue with this therapy and with this help. I want the audience to learn about, I guess, this issue. We have an issue with suicide. We have an issue with veterans. And a lot of the veterans committing suicide are older veterans. They're not all from our most recent wars. But, I want them to be aware of this issue, to have empathy, to support veterans however they can. I belong to an organization called Forgotten Veterans, and they have a warehouse near where I live, and we go there and we pack boxes for veterans with things they need. Sometimes there are treats and candy and stuff, and things like razor blades and and shaving cream. And for the women, of course, they're boxes for women, and that's, a different set of supplies. And these go, it's called Forgotten Soldiers, because these go to soldiers who do not get any mail. They got no mail from home, but they receive these boxes, and they're very grateful for it. And they write back letters, thanking us for the box that they got. I want the audience to really connect with this issue, and maybe find a place in their heart for veterans. That's what I was hoping to do. I'm Tyler Powell. My play is Warriors, and Talking It Out Festival, and I hope that people will enjoy the play.
People should come to this festival because it's important. There's a few reasons. It's important. Everything that's being talked about and shared, the stories being told, are majorly extremely important. Like I said earlier, there aren't enough people that know all of these things. I think, again, people don't know how big of an issue this still is. I think it's important that people come see this just like that, as a reminder that this is still something that we struggle with. This is still something that we need to put our best foot forward on and really start making a difference, really start making an impact in people's lives. And I think people need to come see it, because this is, we're at a turning point for theater again. Theater was virtual for a long time. But I think virtual theater is becoming a new part of our norm, and I think that's absolutely amazing. Because there are people out there that can't access the theater. They can't get to the theater. I think people need to see the show, because it's a reminder as well that that we are now being able to broadcast to a larger audience, and I think that's important, because that means that we can get help from more people. We can educate more people through this platform. I also think it's important because I think this is happening at a perfect time, with the Talking It Out's main base being in New York. Broadway's coming back, theater's back on the rise in so many capacities now. And the arts are important. Live theater, whether you're seeing it in the auditorium itself, or you're watching it over Zoom, or you're watching it through a YouTube link, a Vimeo link, you're watching it on your computer, both experiences at this point have the same weight and level of importance. It's live theater in general. Like we are watching people we're watching playwrights put themselves into these stories. We're watching these actors really engulf in these characters. We're watching, the work that directors put in. Countless hours of how do I make these playwrights' words come to life? How do I give the actors the tools they need to do that? It's so vastly important. I think being a theater artist, I think it was vastly underappreciated before the pandemic. And I think having to do, with 2 years of virtual theater, I think people understood how important this was. People missed this. When Zoom theater became a thing, I saw showcases where for one performance, hundreds of thousands of people were watching at once. Like, obviously you can't do that in an auditorium and have that many people in one space. People miss this, and it's important. Theater's important, and people need to come watch this because it's important. My name is Cole Hunter Zuback. I am a playwright being featured in the Talking It Out Festival with my piece Hoplo. And if you want to learn more about my play in particular, listen to this conversation. It was the first time I've heard of this festival, but just reading about it, I think I was so entranced by the idea of it. I think mental illness is something that isn't talked about enough. Of course, coming from a place of looking at like me with my disability that I believe isn't talked about enough, I really related to that idea of, people don't know enough about it. There's a lot of negative and really harmful stereotypes out there that people don't fully understand. And I could relate to that. And I mean, I've had mental health struggles in the past as well. I've seen people struggle. I've seen people harm themselves. I've seen people lose their lives because of issues like these. And it's not an easy thing, but I think when I saw it, it just reminded me that that I have a story to tell, and that I need to, when I write my shows about my condition, it's because I want to educate people and I want to remind people that this is an issue that they need to worry about. And when I saw this opportunity, I think that was the thing that ran in my head, is that I need to be a part of this because I need to remind people that this is still an issue, and that we need to continue making these steps. We need to make further steps than where we are now. Yeah. So when I saw that, I knew this is something that I was going to do. I had the perfect piece to submit, and I'm really happy. The piece that is being presented, Hoplo, I just finished like a fifth draft of it when I found this submission link. So I was really fortunate to have just finished working on this really, really close to my heart piece that worked perfectly for this festival. Where did the story idea come from, and why did I need to write it? The story came from a less meaningful place, I'd say. I was in a 30-day playwriting challenge. And one day the prompt was write about a phobia. And I found the list of every phobia that's been diagnosed. And I chose a random letter, and I chose a random one in that letter. And I ended up landing on H, and then landing on hoplophobia, which is the fear of guns. And that's where the idea birthed from. When this all happened, though, it was the 2-year anniversary of Douglas Stonewall shooting. It was the 5th year anniversary, or around the 5th year anniversary. There was a shooting in my hometown that killed one of my classmates. So I think when I landed on that word of just out of pure randomness, it reminded me of all these things that I've lived through. I've lived through a lot of seeing in the news of different places going through this horrific thing that is a live shooting. And I don't think it's talked about in a sense that I think a lot of people are numb to it. You see a lot of things where a new tragedy like this happens, and it's like people react in a way of like, that's another one. I think as a kid, I remember it being more of like a shock when these types of things happened. And at this point, people seem so numb and undisturbed, for lack of a better word. Just kind of like there's no hope anymore. They're so numb to it. It happens so often that they just expect it to happen. And that's really what I wanted to tackle and focus on, was that idea, the idea of losing hope. And I knew I wanted to tell a story that brought that hope alive, that, things are bad. Things are bad now, but you have to find the good at the end of the tunnel. I think the main character I named Hope for that exact reason, just that extra piece of symbolism. But it's a short piece, but you see a really big journey of, at the beginning, not being sure, not having hope that she can continue on and live a normal life. I mean, I hate to say that phrase, but like when you go through something like that, like a lot of things change. And at the beginning, she doesn't know, she's not sure, but by the end of it, you really see a full arc. You see the character, you see her grow. There's hope. for the future. There's hope that she can move on and grow from this experience and be able to live her life without being able to move on from what happened. And that was my main goal, was to tell a story that inspired people that, yeah, things are really bad now. But if we work together, there's hope that things will get better. Yeah, I think that was a really important story to tell, especially when I wrote it, and still now, I think it's still really important to tell. I think it's still something that people struggle with, whether in context of being in this tragedy or in any other context. Being a survivor of suicide, being a survivor of addiction, overdose, anything like that. Some people lose hope for all different types of reasons. The story's universal in that way, that sometimes you have to fight to find that hope, but there is always still hope in some amount, and you just have to find it, and you have to hold on to it as hard as you can. I want the audience to take away a few things. Of course, going back to the idea, there is hope. I talked a lot about that. And I'll talk shorter here, but I want the audience to come out of that show hopeful. That whatever struggles you're going through, whatever struggles people you care about are going through, no matter how bad things may be or how bad things you perceive to be, there is hope that things will be better. That's a big thing. I think I just want audiences to leave the show too, knowing that this is still an issue. Not even just the tragedy of, a live mass shooting, but also that just mental health in general, that a lot of people struggle with it. I don't think people think about how many people in the world struggle with mental health issues, mental illness in general. There's a lot of people out there struggling in different ways, and I want people to come who see this show to leave and think, my next door neighbor who waves and says hi every morning with a smile on his face could be struggling in some way, and just remember to be kind to people. When I was in school, right, we had, I think every year in high school we had the assembly about, not the anti-bullying assembly, and they show us a video of a whole bunch of kids and their stories who would end up committing suicide because they were bullied. And one of the big takeaways was always saying hi to someone could be that thing that makes their day better. And it's, in high school, I know kids thought that was silly, but growing up, living through experiences of my own, seeing all this stuff on TV that's terrible, sometimes that can make a person's day. Just a simple act of kindness, a hi, a hello, a smile, a handshake. Sometimes that's all somebody needs. And I want people to leave the show knowing that kindness wins. We're in a weird place now where sometimes I think some people have forgotten that kindness will always triumph at the end of the day. Sometimes maybe the battle's longer, but if you're kind to somebody, things for that period of time are going to be fine. So I want people to really remember that people are struggling, and just a simple act of kindness can really make all the difference. I think that's a really big, important lesson that people need to remember. I think a lot of people have heard that before. I think people need a reminder that is still relevant today. What am I looking forward to? I'm really interested to see what other types of stories are being told. Like I've mentioned before, there's so many different issues out there, different things to talk about, different mental illnesses, different reasons that people struggle the way they do. I'm just curious to see what other people had to say when they saw this prompt, when they saw this festival. I'm curious what inspired them. I think for me too, like I want to know other ways I can help. I want to go in. Yes, I'm excited to see my work, and I want to see the response that my work gets. But I also want to go in, as a viewer, and I just want to learn. I want to listen. I want to see what other people had to say. I think as a playwright, I think I got that as an actor. As an actor, I wanted to go and watch theater to learn from the actors, from the performers themselves. And now that I've become I've become a playwright. It's really like it's like a switch in my brain. Like sometimes I want to watch what the performer's doing, and then I can just flip something in my head, and then I'm listening to what they're saying. I'm looking at, I'm looking at the set. I'm looking at how certain characters interact with each other and how they interact with others, and learning as a playwright. And that's really what I want to go into this and see all these other shows, see these other stories, and really just learn, see what made these characters act the way they do. And I think with this festival in particular, I want to just learn how I can help others outside of this. Obviously I'm not perfect, and I'm not going into this thinking I'm going to come out perfect, but I want to be able to be better prepared if I run in situations similar to the stories that are being shared. I want to have that knowledge. Why is talking it out so important? Why do we need the community's help and support? It's important because it's touching on issues that not many people want to talk about. I think because people don't know a lot about, mental illness, people don't understand sometimes the issues and struggles that people have. Something they want to brush under the rug. They don't want to talk about it. Not necessarily they want to forget it exists, but it's just something they're going to put on the back burner. I think, I think it's important that these types of festivals, and especially talking it out, gets that support, because they're doing hard work. They're raising awareness. They're spreading these stories that other people may not want to do, that some people may not want to see, but that's extremely important. There's a lot of things in this world that are important that people don't necessarily want to talk about or know enough to be able to talk about. I think it's, this is for theater. This is for raising awareness. It's also to educate, so people can leave this and thinking, maybe it sparks, that I really loved that piece and what they talked about. I wish I knew more ways to help. We have Google. People can do a quick Google search after this and find ways to help, find organizations that they can go to and donate to or support or volunteer for. I as a playwright, I want to write about things that people aren't talking about enough, that I don't see in theater. And I want to, raise that awareness. And that, that's another thing that excited me about this festival, is I had a place to be able to show some of my very vulnerable work and help educate, help spread awareness. And, not a lot of people, I think more people need to be willing to do that, have the hard conversations. And I think that's why festivals like this, like Talking It Out, need that support from the community, because it is a hard conversation, but we're not going to get anywhere. We're not going to make strides. We're not going to make an impact unless we do have these hard conversations. My name is Cole Hunter Zuback. I am a playwright being featured in the Talking It Out Festival with my piece Hoplo. I hope everybody comes and sees it. I hope everybody comes with an open mind to learn, to listen, to feel empowered. And I hope people leave this showcase feeling hopeful for the future. See you there.
Mental health awareness has been an important cause to me for years, and I know there are a lot of people out there who feel the same way. And keep in mind that if you make a donation by purchasing a ticket, then you'll not just be supporting me, You'll be supporting the people who are involved. By the way, many of them have been open about their own mental health struggles, I should know. And you'll be supporting NAMI. And you'll be supporting, I'd like to think, a theater festival that has been doing good work to promote this to not just theater in New York or LA or London, but all over the world. Like, we've had artists and audience members who've come from all over the world for the past few performances, and that's true for this performance too. If you support that, then yeah, you should absolutely, that should be your main reason for coming to see the festival, and to support our artists too. So we do run the performance, a recording of the performance, I should say, for 2 weeks afterwards. We can't do it beyond that just because, like, you know, some playwrights are iffy in terms of, like, I shouldn't say they're iffy. They're worried that, like, what opportunities that might get closed off if their play is somewhere on YouTube. And part of me gets that. I'm a playwright myself, so I kind of get that. But, like, you know, for anyone who can't be there the day of the performance, yeah, it'll absolutely be available on YouTube for 2 weeks total. Usually I upload it the Monday after our Saturday performance, and then I keep it up for 14 days after that, and that's on my YouTube channel, and I post it across our Facebook and Instagram pages too for the festival. So if you can't make it, no worries. It'll be available for 2 extra weeks after that. And I think it's going to be really cool. Well, if you want to learn more about this festival and the work that we do, you can go to www.facebook.com/talkingoutfest, and you can follow us on Instagram @talkingoutfest, and I hope to see you there.